Hello, Old School RuneScape. Welcome to this week's Q&A, this month's leadership live stream. I think it's the first leadership live stream for about 3 months, actually. Welcome anyway. I'm your host, Mort'ton. I am delighted to be joined by Mod Mike D. So cool. Mod Kieran as well.
Yo, yo, yo.
Also cool.
Oh, man.
Behind the scenes, we've got the very talented Mod Spear, and we've got Mod Sani and Mod Aiza in the chat. If you have any questions for us, at Old School RS in the chat, and now put it on our doc, and we'll get to those questions in a bit. Let's start as we usually do. Announcements. A few of them. They're pretty good ones though, so bear with me. Exclamation mark leagues. It's been active for quite a long time. Still not too late to start your journey. Ends in early January. You probably know all you need to know about leagues. So get in and play if you haven't already done so. Exclamation mark Gazette. So today, a few hours ago, we published the very last Gazette of 2020. It's a long read. It's a really good read. I've seen some great feedback so far. We talk everything from planning to roadmaps, to ideation days, 5 new-ish JMods, exclamation mark Gazette, 1Z, 2 Ts, learn more. We've got some questions about those. We'll get to them in a bit. Ooh, what else? Exclamation mark FSB. So earlier this year, back in August, I think, we presented Temperos, the fishing skilling boss, to you. He gave us tons of feedback. We went to the drawing board, and last week we published a revised version of the blog. Reception's been really good so far, and I think tomorrow we're hoping to get out another version of the blog with a few feedback changes, with a view to polling soonish. So exclamation mark FSB to learn more. Okay, 2 announcements to go. Exclamation mark OST. Okay, the script I've got says you should jam to the sounds of the Kebus Lowlands. The newest OST is out now. Listen to 23 tracks that include songs created by mods Surma, Ian, Ed, and Ash. Check out the Jagex Spotify by using exclamation mark OST to listen to the best of old school.
Do these intentionally sound like radio adverts?
Well, you just said there, you had to stop and say, it was been written here that I say, jam to the sounds of the Kebus Lowlands. Come on, dude, you wrote that. You proud of that?
Okay, Mod Sani, if you're listening, be proud of that. All right. Last announcement, exclamation mark Steam Beta. So to prepare for Old School Steam launch, we want you to help test a new client for Steam. We published this earlier. The reception's been amazing so far, about 3,000 signups in quite a short period of time. So exclamation mark Steam Beta to learn more, and we'll be talking more about that later in the stream. Well, that's it for the announcements. Like I said earlier, as always, if you have anything you'd like to ask us on the stream, please at Old School RS with your questions in the chat. Firstly, how is everybody? Mike, how you doing? We'll start with you.
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. You know, I'm still sitting in Texas, so, you know, this whole, you know, you may have heard of this whole election thing that's getting put to bed. You know, coronavirus. 6 of 1, as usual. 2020 sucks.
Nearly over.
Yes, thank the Lord.
How did you describe 2020 in the Gazette?
It is an incontrovertible dumpster fire.
That it is. That it is.
Well, I mean, the other day, we were updating one of our spreadsheets that we use for tracking something, and I copied the sheet for 2020, and it gave it the name 2022 in brackets. I was like, no, please, no. But no, yeah. Hopefully 2021's a good start.
It's the home stretch, man. It's the home stretch.
It is. It sounds like we're getting there with COVID, so vaccines starting to hit and get going. But anyway, we could talk, you know, COVID, we've all dealt with it all year. It's rough, but you know what? It's been a pretty good week, to be honest. I mean, we've started doing like our Christmas parties, so obviously we can't do a normal Christmas party, so we've been doing a lot of different entertainment things on Zoom. We've had like comedians on tonight. We had a magician on last week. It's all very different through Zoom. Like it's you can tell it's also rough because everyone's trying to work it out how to do this sort of stuff for the first time. But you know what? It's been a laugh. So exciting.
Karaoke, that was good.
Oh yes, Mike, you did. What did you sing?
It was a butchered version of Country Roads called ASCII Dwarves. I don't understand it, but it was interesting. Would you want me to belt something out?
No. Nobody
I
does.
mean, I'm sure I can dig out the unlisted YouTube video that was found and share that if we wanted to.
There isn't. Is there?
Right. I don't know. I recall I wasn't able to attend or sing, unfortunately, but I did find a video and go back. I heard you, and I want to clarify, you didn't butcher the song. The people who wrote the revised gamified version, they butchered it.
Well,
you salvaged it. You were awesome.
the worst part about that was I thought that guy worked with us, so I turned around and said, "Hey, just FYI, pal, this is a travesty." I thought he was with us. I didn't realize I was saying that to a random stranger. But yes, ASCII Dwarves.
Right, let's move on to
Anywho.
questions. Let's move on to questions. You know what? I'm not going to go there. I was tempted when you mentioned like making progress with COVID, getting into the whole vaccine chat. Who's going to get vaccines? Who's not? Let's not go there. Let's go straight into the questions. Let's save the politics for another podcast, shall we?
Fair enough.
Right. Okay. First question from the Gazette. If you haven't, I'd encourage people watching the stream, open up another tab with the Gazette in, and you can follow it as we go through it. So first question is, you mentioned roadmaps and planning. This seems to be the most solidified roadmap so far. The question is, what takes so long to make a roadmap? And then Modsphere, if you could show the image as well while we talk to the answer. Transition.
So, that's pretty slick. So this is only a tiny piece of it, right? This is, we're trying to get better at planning, right? We want to promise something and be able to deliver it in that calendar year, right? So to do that, we have to get better at planning. So we have been using this tool Miro, which helps us throw all kinds of stuff together and just kind of, we get everybody to jump in and vote. The content that you're looking at, even this small snippet, the team was in there. We put all these things. We sent out a list of for requests from the team. We put it all in there. We plugged in the ones that, we needed to keep doing. We want to do these seasonal events. So we wanted to make sure that we had seasonal events put in there. So, and the tent poles and the quest content, everything that everybody loves. And then I expect this will even pivot again, right? Plans only survive the initial encounter. So after that, we're going to have to pivot. We're going to have to change things up, see how we're doing with certain things, see what players are asking us for and other things, and how we can react to that. I don't think I answered it, but this is the most solidified one I've seen so far. What about you, Kieran?
Yeah, and it takes a while because there's a lot that has to go into it. I mean, you're trying to make sure, can we achieve this as a dev team? Have we even got enough time to develop all these things and handle all these things at the same time? All of that, it takes a lot of effort. It's making sure we try and get the right balance in the content that we're doing and meeting all the goals and objectives we have. It's a whole operation, really. And I mean, you can tell that this is literally a screenshot of our roadmap in Miro, because that's why it's all cut off and everything. It hasn't been prepared all nice and fancy. It is literally the one we reference quite often. So
we're not nice and fancy. This is us in a nutshell. So what I was just trying to say, this is also only a portion of it, right? Obviously it goes out for the rest of the year, but it also, if you go south of this roadmap, there's all kinds of stuff that you're not seeing, stuff that the tech team's doing, the stuff I've kind of alluded to and the rest of it that we really can't talk about right now. But there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than this. This was the focus on the content so that you guys can see what kind of content we have coming up next.
Yeah, and the way I was talking about it is see it like the weather forecast, right? A plan's always evolving, it's changing. It's based on players' demands as well. Like, ultimately, the community suddenly decides, God, we absolutely detest quests. We really are done with quests. We've had too many. Maybe we look at what we're doing, and that's the thing. We should be adaptable and flexible to what's needed. So
Awesome. Thanks for the answer, guys. I'm seeing lots of them chat about, where's Group Iron Man, where's Raids 3, where's this, where's that. Like we said, this is just January to April. There are lots of other months than the rest of the year. As we, I guess, kind of think of it like a video game that has like the fog of war around you, like an RTS game. As you move, the fog clears. So maybe next month we show you to May, and then a month after that, it will show you more months. As we get further to the end of Q1, you get to see to the end of Q2 or Q3, that kind of thing. No, Raids 3 and Group Iron Man are not confirmed for release in May. That'd be a hell of a turnaround. Surprise!
I expect to see player-made. I expect to see a player's make that with paint just go out from here and go right and just fill in bunches of stuff.
Questions about things like dual arena changes and whatnot. That's not really called out on here as a project, but that would also come onto things like regular polls and weekly releases focused on qual. That kind of live ops weekly update section. Okay, let's move on to another question. It still does concern the roadmap and planning and whatnot. So, Mike, you're product director. The question is, what is the relationship between product director and the people in charge of a studio actually like? So, what's that relationship like between you and the people at the top? How much sway do you have?
Who wrote this? Someone on the team did this. How much sway do I have? Well, I will take that question and I will force it back upon you two. You've been involved in a lot of the stuff. We make up a chunk of this management group. I get to go into executive meetings. I get to bring, what we're pitching next, how we're doing, report back with the executive producer, Rob Hendry. We get to go in there and, we get to draw a picture, and they get to see what that looks like and what it means moving forward. And there's certain things which, again, we can't talk about right now that even recently we've gone to the table and said, this can't happen, but this can happen. We don't want to do this because this is going to have this adverse effect. And they listen, right? But they, right now, I would say that they don't have any, we have meetings with them, the executive team and the management, and they give us feedback. They say, oh, hey, have you guys thought about this? So we talked a bit about, I don't know how much of a cat I'm letting out of the bag at this point, but we talked about 2021 and that everybody knows what 2021 is, right? That's not a big surprise, me talking about it. I think we had that is an important date for us. And, exec got to come to the table and say, hey, this is an important date for us. How can we as all the different teams support this great thing we have coming into 2021? And then we took that, came back, and then noodle around with it with the team and then figure some stuff out. So that's how the relationship works. Yeah.
Kieran, anything to add?
Obviously it's a team operation, but it is about us putting forward what we want to do with Old School RuneScape, about the projects that we want to do, what we feel is right. And genuinely, we are trusted with that. So, that's all there really is to say. A lot of people in the chat are like, MTX confirmed, then there's no confirmed MTX. We confirm in the Gazette that there's no plans to do cosmetics and tradable XP and whatever else.
All right. All right. So now I get the angle now. See, I wasn't sure. This sounded like a nondescript question, but look, it's pretty simple. The executive team that approached me about coming here to Old School RuneScape to do this job of product director told me there is no MTX in this game. There's never going to be any MTX in this game. And you got to be okay with that. I have to be okay with that. And I'm like, well, hell yeah, I am. That's fine. That's not, it makes it more challenging and how to, we got to deliver value to you and we have to deliver value to JagX because it is a company. But how we do that is completely up to us, and how everyone has decided is that we're going to do it through subscription and getting more people to play the game and fall in love with it and then want to become our members. That's the way this is going to work.
Sounds good to me. All right, let's move on to the next question. Again, it talks roadmap, and it kind of touches upon the topic of monetization, which we just spoke about. So in the Gazette, we announced that we would be partnering with Prime Gaming to offer a Soul Wars preview in release beforehand. Why did you choose Soul Wars as a Prime Gaming initiative? And can you further clarify how this will work for players?
So we talked about it. I only came in just over a year ago, and I came in right on the cusp, right on the tail end of the previous situation with what I I don't want to go too much into that, but whatever had happened on the last Prime Gaming, which was not something that the community was on board for, right? And neither were the devs, really. So what it boiled down to is we said, okay, we can't do that again. We can't, this is important. But part and parcel to what I said into the Gazette, but it's something I've been saying the whole time, is to provide value, we need to go out and find players who haven't seen the game, haven't played the game, get them to try the game, have them try out cool content, and then they get in and say, oh, wow, this is really cool. Is this what I can expect to get out of that game? Now, I'll even argue theoretically that MTX only does that to a certain degree. Like if you look at some of the Prime Gaming stuff, somebody's like, oh, hey, I'm giving you a free mount, or I'm giving you this cool costume piece or whatever it is. But we're not doing that, right? Because the community said they don't want to do that. But the issue here is Soul Wars is a piece of content. We're like, hey, this is pretty cool. We can get players to play it. They could try it out. They could enjoy it. It's not content that's locked away behind Prime Gaming. It's being tested on Prime Gaming. It's their ability to, hey, but we can get, I don't know, if I can get 150,000 new players to go in, try this piece of gameplay out, they like it, and then they come over to the game and play the actual game itself and become our member, I think that's a good thing. Even if it is behind a 2-week special preview situation that is in.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's a good thing too. To further clarify how it works, it means that from, the 15th of December? Yeah, Tuesday 15th.
The 15th, yeah.
Players will be able to log in on special, what are pretty much tournament worlds, no save worlds. So no rewards will be active, no progress will carry from it. I'm pretty sure you set your stats and set your own gear, just like a tournament world. So anyone can kind of, I guess for a new player, or maybe a returning player, people recognize Soul Wars, it's nostalgic to an extent. So they see that on the the Prime loot bar, or someone streaming it, for example, because I think Soul Wars probably lend itself quite well to streaming. Those kind of lapsed, what we call lapsed, old players who played back in 2010 when they were playing Soul Wars, they might be more tempted to come back. So I see there are positives from this kind of partnership effort. Soul Wars itself, with rewards and progress and your own account and whatnot, will be released in early January. I think we're looking at the very first update once we're back after Christmas and the New Year break. Probably worth mentioning as well that from this week's game update, which is Wednesday, also the last update of the year, will come with the Christmas event, and in a little bit we'll show you a sneak peek of one of the rewards. You'll see the Soul Wars portal in Edgeville. I think you can go in it, you can look around the lobby area. You can't play any games, but it needs to be in this week's update, just so it's ready to go live next Tuesday. Cool. I want to talk more about
what it'll also help us with, to be honest, is it'll help us with balancing and refining some of the Soul Wars experience, because it allows us to essentially launch the content and go through that period of feedback and fixing, refining, balancing before it's actually launched for real to everybody. So it should actually be in a better state come start of January than it would be if we didn't have that extra help. So it's a win-win as far as I'm concerned for that.
Oh, for sure, yeah. They will be playing and finding bugs and stuff for us. So when it gets to release, we know what's up.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is balancing, because it's very hard to balance a mode where you need a decent sized number of people on each team, right? That's hard to get. It's hard to test without using beta servers or something akin to that.
Well, I think, again, not to call it out, but this was a really cool thing, right? I believe when we were having the discussion with Prime Gaming that they were just like, well, because we haven't done anything like this before, right? This was all a test. We tested it with LMS, we tested it with Soul Wars, and this is actually, having this conversation. This was something that they could get excited about, right? The people at Prime Gaming are like, hey, this is really cool. Our players would really like to play this, right? So I'm hoping that their players will then become our players. Well, their watchers.
Makes sense to me. Right, so we, the T word, transparency. We keep saying it. The Gazette, every single Gazette is about transparency. We've just announced this partnership. I'd like to ask you now, are there other ideas for partnerships that you have? Last time you mentioned coffee and another substance. What else is on your mind? Let's start getting that conversation with players going early.
Oh, dude. See, now that's the thing. I can honestly say I pitched. Kieran knows. You both know what it is. I can't say it though. I'm not going to say it. But I pitched an idea that would get us in front of a potentially massive amount of people, players, lapse players, just doing something outside the game, maybe something in a different form of entertainment. It's not necessarily what we have going on in our game. But again, there's so many people, so many things out there where I don't know. I can't really talk about it. We haven't started discussing it. I just pitched it. You asked about the product director role. I had an idea, pitched an idea to the partnership team. The partnership team is now like, hey, this is a great idea. Let's sit down and try to figure out how we tackle this next. And it has literally zero to do with the game. Well, tangentially, but you won't see content in the game derived from it. But it's definitely a partnership. And so it's definitely something we're thinking about pretty regularly, trying to think outside the box, right? When we say we want something to be bespoke for old school, we're serious about that, right? Everybody that we talk to is serious about that.
Remember the old Wet and Wildy April Fool's screen? The theme park for old school, for RuneScape.
Oh, no, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. April Fool's, we did an announcement of RuneScape Wet and Wildy, like a theme park in the UK with like a minecart roller coaster ride and stuff like that.
Did you end up killing other people at this place? You have to beat people
no, it
to
was
get
April Fool's.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. We're sticking with the Gazette for now. I've seen lots of people asking in the chat already about this first question. So in the Gazette, we give the standard project status update on lots of different topics, lots of different things. So I'd like to ask you, can you give us an update on the too many logins issue, which is some players are unable to log in because they're met by an error which says there are too many logins from your connection or your address, something like that, and they can't access the game.
Well, they are. It's definitely affecting a certain number of people, and many times the same people, repeatedly on a daily basis. Our tech team is working behind the scenes. We have some other options, which I'm not exactly sure what we're talking about today. And then we even got together like a cross organizational team to try to work out ways we on the dev team can work around that. So I think there are some different options on the table, but ultimately we want to solve it the right way. I don't know how much of the right way we can talk about.
I mean, I can reiterate what we said in the Gazette in this section. And I've just noticed looking at it, there's a bit of a formatting error. I've passed that on. Hopefully we can tidy that up nicely. So long term, solving it the right way is the priority. And that is our tech team's biggest priority. A little segue very briefly. Players are asking about like the account security issues we talked about. That kind of stuff is on pause until we can solve these login issues. So, yeah, long term, we're solving it the right way, but we are working on short-term solutions. One of those comes hand in hand with the announcement of today's Steambazer. We're quite hopeful, and it's still yet to be totally checked and totally verified. We've seen some success with a few players so far, that the Steam beta will offer these players, the affected players, a way of accessing the game by using their Steam account. So if you are affected by the issue, drop a ticket to player support. We're working on a process to how we can get those players priority into the beta test so they can play. That's not the only short-term solution we're kind of knocking around. I think we're quite confident there are other things we can do, but that is our first go-to. So we are working on it. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Cool.
Kieran,
okay,
are you
we'll
drinking Diet Pepsi?
Diet Pepsi, yeah.
Not even Pepsi Max.
Yeah, seriously,
They have
dude.
no Pepsi Max left.
Oh no.
Oh boy. All right. That was just my question.
This is the
there you
partnership
go.
idea you're telling. Are you drinking Diet Pepsi? Oh, you mean this?
Dude,
All right, next
why
question.
not?
Why
All
not,
right,
man?
anyway.
Dude. Yeah, okay. We'll come back to this another time, but why not?
Kieran, why?
I'm going to do it right now. Just in case anyone's watching, this cold brew coffee stuff, I love it. I would happily start every Q&A or announcement.
What brands can we show up? Is that it?
Here's my PlayStation 5. Please
Carex
send
hand
me a game.
sanitizer. Great at defeating COVID. Like, I mean, how far do we go? Like, I think we should crack on with the question. Ooh.
Whoa, that was cool.
Fancy.
All right, next question. Some people are enjoying this. Other people are saying, talk old school. Who cares about this?
All right.
All right, next question. Again, we're talking about the project status and roadmap and planning. What can you do for PvP? Broad question, I know, but there's a huge element of community. They feel quite underserved over recent years, neglected almost. What can we do for those players?
Well,
I mean,
we had
rightly so.
Yeah.
Rightly so. They feel underserved. So that's absolutely what I'd say. It's obviously there's a lot of different elements to this. I think on one side you've got events like obviously Deadman or even the LMS tournament that we tried with Prime a little bit behind the scenes. But really, I think those big like non-core old school PvP events are an addition, right? They're not really a replacement for like wilderness PvP or bounty hunter or whatever core game PvP mechanisms that we need to have. But even Deadman, we can serve much better than we did in the past. We've talked at some length about it already, about whenever we do Deadman again, that we do give it more love. We put more time into it. We make sure that it's not just we're rolling out that old Deadman mode again, the same one you've played 10 times already. It's let's put more into it. Let's also understand what we have learned from leagues as well, because perhaps there's things there that we can even integrate in Deadman. Maybe the task system from leagues is something that could work for Deadman. Maybe it's something else, but let's put time into it and really make sure Deadman's got something interesting that makes it different and special from what was done last time. Beyond that, LMS, like I've just mentioned, really, I mean, I don't know if there's any other questions even already in the question list screen about this LMS event we did with Prime already, but it was a little behind the scenes. In fact, you might have seen it come up that, we had to end up rescheduling it and we had issues at the first one, but in the end, what we actually ended up doing was actually quite a cool event. It worked quite well. It just wasn't given any attention. It was really behind the scenes, maybe a bit rushed to get it together, but really it's a proof of concept. It might be something we can go and do and use if we give it the level of attention it needs. But PvP in the core game, it needs a lot of improvements. I mean, polling we've talked about as well. Polling is a big problem with it in that it's hard to get things through polls. I've talked about it before. How I would love to try and work out polling some PvP content to just PvPers in some regards, with some sort of constraints. We've done it with Ultimate Iron Man. With PvP, it is harder to define what is a PvPer. Is it X number of kills? X number of kills recently? Is it how many hours spent in the wilderness? You've got to try and come up with criteria that identify you as a PvP ultimately. And so that's a challenge. That's a bit that we're going to need to talk to PvP community about that. A bit more back and forth to work out what's acceptable and what you guys view as fair. The other aspects are that PvP updates can affect other players. Unlike an Ultimate Iron Man tweak, it doesn't affect anybody else. PvPers, does LMS get this reward, or does this reward drop from something in the wilderness? That really does affect other people. And so that's a complex issue, but it is one we absolutely want to start the conversation on and really try and take that forward and work that out. You can see on the roadmap we showed earlier as well. I mean, everyone was speculating what it said, like Wilderness CH. What does that mean? Wilderness changes.
How far else did you guys go?
But we want to tackle that bar there against the wilderness is really to address problems with the wilderness. That is looking at it quite holistically, I think, and really looking at it. What do we do with multi-zones and single zones? How do PJ timers work? Even those sort of things that are really inconsistent. Do we make singles truly safe to singles and no planning there? Is that the right move? I don't know. But it's a question we should actually address and answer and determine how do we want to handle this. What do we do in multi? How can we provide something that actually has a purpose for clans to fight each other? There's a lot of different things to look at, but honestly, I would love to find a way that new people can get into PvP, because I think that is the biggest problem. PvP is full of people who've been doing it for years, and it's not really had any way for new players to get into it. And it's, not gonna lie, it's not easy. If we knew the answers, I think we would have done it already. It's not as easy when it comes to like, oh yeah, you want to make a new boss? Sure. It's, you know, you could have bad mechanics, and people might think, oh, that boss wasn't very fun. But you don't break the entire ecosystem of PvM. So,
well, I mean,
it's truly more challenging with PvP, because everyone wants different things. And we have tried a lot. You've seen us try. We put a decent amount of time into Bounty Hunter last year, and it didn't work. We got it wrong. We tried different things, but it's proved so difficult when players can sort of abuse the system to win as well. So, can you offer rewards for PvP in addition to what people are dropping? I think you sort of have to. You want to get people into it. I could talk about this forever. I think the point I'm trying to emphasize is this: it's not easy. But of course, I think we have a good view of where the real problems are and what we got to try and overcome.
And we've got time put against it to try to figure that out. Because, as I said in the Gazette, it's, MMO's only as good as the sum of its parts, right? And it's not going to be, you might have 85% of your players doing PVM, but there's still other players, and they deserve to have content catered to them. So we're going to do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's not just about the project stuff too. There's also like mechanical elements. People always talk about mage defense and certain armors and whatnot. Maybe we do look at rebalancing equipment. On PvP worlds, I know there's complaints at the moment about how people are able to freeze and then stun quickly using special attacks. Those kind of mechanical elements, we need to be hot on them with our game updates. You quite often joke that we can fix a typo each week, but we ignore these types of issues for weeks on end. And fixing typos is a hell of a lot easier, but we should be much hotter on those kind of mechanical things too. Right, okay, let's move on to the other part of the project status section. This time around in Exec, we did something new. Feedback I got so far really positive, so I thought I'd highlight some of the stuff on the stream. Modspear, could you show the first group of images? This is the reward from the Christmas event that's coming up.
Oh, dude,
this
is like my favorite thing.
I love it.
I absolutely, the second I saw this, was like, you'd be absolutely insane not to go straight into EOH and do this.
I feel like this is now a tough choice between this and the Halloween house, the one that we've already got. Like, I don't know which one to go for. Look how happy those doors are. I don't even have my doors on, but I want to put them on and get... Such a tough choice now.
Oh, man. It is literally, like I said, the team absolutely outdid itself.
I love
really
it.
strong rewards for holiday events. We've had some complaints at times over like how memey we get with holiday event rewards. So last time around with the Halloween one, we had the pumpkin, which looked great, and the headless head, I think the item name is.
Yep.
Yeah.
This time we've got the winter house. I think it looks awesome.
Wait till you see the one in January.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
well, we've got a teaser for the January one coming up. We'll get to that in a bit. But for now, Modspear, could you show us the next image? This is the A Kingdom Divided mockup. So, okay, people in the chat probably wondering what this is. So, in the roadmap, we mentioned A Kingdom Divided will be in development. Now, this hasn't been blogged or polled yet. We might blog it and poll it. You might not like it, in which case we'll replace it with something else. But A Kingdom Divided is the next quest in the Zarek, Karen, Zaya storyline. We hope to be talking to you about it really soon, before Christmas. We want to get a blog in your hands. And it might seem like we're coming quite quick with vlogs, but if you look at the roadmap, there is a good kind of staggered cadence to when we're releasing things. The reality is, as the team grows bigger, and it's gotten much bigger, in the Gazette we introduced 5 new mods to you, for example, just like the last 2 months alone. We need to be blogging and polling stuff way earlier, so we can, do all these projects. It might mean that we blog and poll this quest in December, but you don't get your hands on it until April, May, that type of thing. Anyway, this is a mock-up concept of one of the new characters from the quest.
I tell you what, they need to eat more.
All right, we'll move on. Next one. Can you show the next image, please, Modspear?
Oh no, this looks good. This,
Yeah, it does look
oh my god, what a difference! What a difference from the current catacombs for Shades. Like,
You
it's
have the
such
other
a
one?
huge step up from the other one. I don't think we have the comparison picture, but
Oh,
god.
it's-
I didn't think to include a comparison. If they go, if any players want to see how it looks currently, just go to the Shades of Mort'ton catacomb now. It's a murky brown. It's a murky toilet brown.
I was gonna say a toilet brown is a better.
Yeah. This place looks cool. This looks really good. Mod West has absolutely smashed this. And I don't know, is it new wall kit? There might be tweaks, but I think it's an existing sort of wall kit mostly, right?
Well, I think it's a new wall kit based on dungeons and surrounding areas.
Based on
So
the
I think
existing one in the area, yeah.
Cool. Lastly, so Mike D, a minute ago you mentioned the anniversary event reward. Well, I don't have that for you, but Modspear, if you can show us the last teaser image. So the RuneScape as a franchise turns 20 years old on the 4th of January. So 4th of January 2001, RuneScape came into existence. So we're going to commemorate that with a. It's a great event. I can't help but laugh. It's fresh from the brilliance of Mod Ash's mind. It's going to be a great event to play through. You are going to love it. That's all I can say. But you get to play it really soon. So we turned 20 on January 4th, and I think we're releasing this on January 6th.
Well, we turn 8, right? Shortly thereafter.
February. Yeah. So we've got 2 birthdays in 2 months.
Can you, but honestly, I find it mad that Old School's about to be 8. Like, truly, the gap between real 2007 and Old School's launch is now much shorter than the gap from Old School launch to now. That's what seems so mad to me.
Good times. 2021.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Truly.
So these are teasers for active projects. In the Gazette, we also went through some ideation ideas. Before we show those off, Kieran, I'm coming to you. Can you explain what the ideation, what the concept of ideation is, how it works, what the team do, what that's all about, and then we'll get Modspear to show us more cool stuff.
The core thing behind ideation is we want to come up with new ideas for the game. Be it inspired by community suggestions, prototyping things, creating some cool art, pulling together brand new ideas, and just sharing them around the team and coming up with the best new things to hopefully potentially go in the schedule and be launched one day. Ultimately, I believe the best way to get the best ideas for this game are to come up with lots of ideas. You know, you got 50 great ideas, you pick the 5 best ones, you've got 5 amazing ideas. So what we do, because obviously we're working on projects all the time, is we spend 2 days a month, the team gets in little groups, maybe works individually, sort of like a game jam, and just comes up with new ideas. Makes a pitch, maybe creates a little demo, prototype to show off, and we all gather in a meeting. I think it's one of the most fun meetings of the month, where everyone just shares cool things that they're working on, showing off. And ultimately, the team has a say, do we like this stuff? Do we not? And that sort of feeds into, ultimately, the roadmap that you've seen much earlier as well. So what we thought we would do this month is start to share this a lot more, because it's not just about whether the team like it, it's also about what the community thinks. And it's great to get that feedback in, even this early when it is purely a concept. So, Sweet, I think you've got some images lined up.
Yeah, we sure do. Modspear, do you want to show us the first one, which I think is quest speedrunning? Kieran, can I look to you to walk us through this stuff?
Yeah. I'll walk through all this stuff. So, one of the ideas was to add proper speedrunning servers for quests. With the recent league, we have the ability to sort of reset parts of your save game better than we could before. That really helps us do this a lot more easily. And so the idea is putting up a separate world where you can log on to it and you can just click let's see, you see there's a few quests are only highlighted there, the ones in red. We have to add them each slightly manually. There's a bit of work involved. But, so on that list, you could say select Dragon Slayer, click info, start the quest, whatever. It will set you up with certain items in your bank, certain items on your character, put you in a starting position, ready to go and do Dragon Slayer. And that creates a rule set that's set for that speedrun then. And everyone could go and do the speedrun. It would time it in-game, and obviously give you the time at the end. And I think speedrun content in old school is cool, but obviously right now it's very difficult to actually pull off. Because ultimately you can only do a quest once. So the speedruns people do are like new account to Dragon Slayer, and it's not the same as something that's nice and a bit more short form like we can do with something like this. So it's a bit of a mock UI, and it's a bit of a vertical slice. Like, it works with one quest so far, I think. And it's just a concept really at this stage, but I think it's cool. I think there really could be some awesome content produced if we were to put this system in. But yeah, it seems a lot of people are fairly excited about that.
People were speculating about Imp Catcher speedrun, which I think is awesome. An Iron Man speedrun of Imp Catcher. Good luck, everybody.
Yeah, imagine somebody speedrunning Imp Catcher at AGDQ. The runtime estimate is anywhere from like 5 minutes to 7 hours. And Imp Catcher. Garbage, that.
What's big? You
Garbage.
Okay, Kieran, what is this thing?
So this is what we've called Guardians of Gielinor. And this is a view to add an additional runecrafting feature. Which, honestly, I feel like runecrafting's got space for something that creates a better way at getting runes, whilst offering somewhat competitive experience as well. There's a space there between like ZMI, Zaya runecrafting, and lavas and other extreme methods. So this is sort of inspired by like the Great Orb project and things like that, but it's slightly different. But the idea is there's sort of a conflict going on here. You need to ultimately power up this guardian, but you do so by getting a special type of essence in this environment here. And this guardian opens up different portals, you can see, and they represent the different rune altars. So you go to the real altars, use a special essence to make that rune. You'll get additional XP than you would normally, because you're doing it in a different manner. And ultimately come back, and you power that guy up, etc. And it's a repeatable activity. I wouldn't go as far as describing it as a skilling boss, but it's sort of more akin to that it's like a cyclical, longer form type of content. But yeah, we feel it's got a space to exist as a proper part of runecrafting and not really destroy any of the metas or dramatically speed up runecrafting. That's certainly not the intention. This is what we were talking about when we were talking about, like, it's so hard to get a lot of blood runes and things. And this originally stemmed from that Iron Man issue about blood runes. But this is the sort of thing. It's like, let's give players a way to actually more directly get runes and make money from runecrafting again. More so than you can with other methods. So the real thing is, it's to offer a way that's interactive and more interesting without making the XP rates super high. That's what I could say. But this is an early concept. It's, again, these are really early concepts. That's the point. That's the point of ideation. That's why we want to share them early and just get a feel. Is this something you're even interested in us going further with? And if so, we can absolutely explore where that could go. So,
sweet. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Mod Spear, if you would, please.
Ooh,
cool.
That looks Great image. Great image, great work. This is Faction Wars. So, you think of World v World in other MMOs. It is essentially, that's what it's directly inspired by. It's a way to do something like that in old school RuneScape. Now, so this ultimately could be a PvP and PvM game mode, where, depending on which sort of thing you like doing, there's room for everybody, even skillers. And you'll be on 3 teams. It's the sort of idea of a server that could run for, say, a week or 2 weeks, and then it resets at that cadence. The game takes that long to play out. And throughout, ultimately, these 3 teams are battling for the ground. They're battling for those resources, those camps that are around the map. So, really, the cool gameplay for this is what we're thinking about, is at each camp, when you own it, you build defenses, you build traps, you build like catapults that might fire at the enemy that are coming at you. You also have bosses and NPCs that you spawn inside your camp. And each camp would have like a boss NPC. You've got to defeat that boss to take over the camp. These are the sort of things. And obviously, resources are what power you up as a team. They go into forming your traps, but also essentially scoring points and things like that too. Really, it's a really quite a high-level concept. Lots of different ideas that are floating about that I think are really cool. So, that's sort of the idea. I mean, the map is literally just a mock-up to sort of explain the concept. But I think this is something that's so out there and different for what old school RuneScape has done before. It could really form a really nice addition to the game, I think. I imagine it being separate to your main save. It's sort of like a world you'd go onto. Everyone would sort of have equal stats, that kind of thing. So it's a fair playing ground. But yeah. Hopefully that does a decent summary of the concept.
So when will it be playable?
This, Mike, it's a very early concept, as shown by the fantastic, I think it's not Paint. It's better than Paint, but I don't know what software it's used.
I don't know, man. I was going to say Visio, maybe?
Yeah,
I don't know.
But either way.
PowerPoint, there you go.
Probably. Some people say it looks like a fidget spinner. Some people say it looks like something else. Anyway.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned it being quite different from other stuff we've done. That said, we've got some suggested names from the player base. Some people say it should be League of RuneScape or Castle Wars 2 or Stealing Creation 2. So maybe we can knock around those names and work with marketing and branding and see if any of them really resonate. Right, let's go on to the last concept we want to show off, Modspear, if you would. This one looks great. I mean, that's clearly a paint job, perhaps, but I love the detail. It looks so comfy.
This is what we're talking about when we're talking. It's literally, this is us getting in a room and sharing very early ideas. Just the theme can inspire people. Like you're talking about the woodcutting guild. What if you can imagine the eagles of Hunter nesting at the top of the redwood trees, and this hunting guild is then built off the back of those trees, and the idea is a hunting guild, basically. And really, it's just that sort of high-level concept. This would be in Zaire, just above the hunting grounds that already exist in Zaire, is the idea. But to be honest, for Paint, not gonna lie, that's impressive. Could you guys draw that in Paint? Because I couldn't.
No, that's actually super slick.
Look at the shading. 2 shades of brown are used here.
I think those are. Is that shadows on the bottom?
I think they're like shadows. Yeah, they're not just like
clearly shadows. What else could they be?
Like legs. I don't know. They've got to be shadows. I think Hunter is a skill that is underutilized for the variety it has, right? You think of how many different pieces of content there are. The bird hunting, the kebbit hunting, the tracking, etc., etc. The vast majority of it is just serves no purpose, because the reward you get from it, you get your Grok furs, and now you've made your Grok outfit, and now you need none of them ever again. And it's not the best XP, so why are you going to do it? Being able to mix it up some way, I think that would be what I'd love to try and do with a hunting guild, personally. But really, the core concept of a hunting guild could really be turned into anything. I love the theming, I love the fitting of where it's positioned in next to the woodcutting guild. So, huge potential, I think. And really, I'd love to see your input on what you think we could do with the hunting guild.
I would. This is what I was saying a little bit in the Gazette, but I want to see. We should be getting this from the players. There's got to be thousands of good ideas out there just sitting there waiting to be incorporated. How do we get them?
Yeah, I mean, there's some good ideas put into the Gielinor Gazette itself as well that were part of this concept. So there was a good start. Like, imagine some animals are overabundant, causing other species to shrink. Their population needs reining in. So the Larupias have overbred and are threatening the carnivorous Chinchamba population. We need someone to cull 15 of them. Go out there and do it. I mean, so you could have a task sort of system, but whether contracts fits for Hunter is another story as well. Is another question. So ultimately, just want to see what players think.
You asked a great question, Mike. How do players send us ideas? Obviously, they can do the standard route, like post on social media and get lucky with the upvotes. Or I've just put a link in the chat, which is a little survey form we built, which allows players to share their ideas, whether it's like small quality of life updates or bigger projects or up to like big expansions. We also asked them to give us a RuneScape name or Discord ID or email address. They don't have to. You're conscious about security and whatnot, but if you'd like us to follow up and say, hey, we like your idea, do you want to call with us and work on this type of content? They can use that form to do so. Let me pop that link in the chat again. So that's the second time we've introduced players to stuff from our ideation days. I'd encourage players to go back to the July Gazette, which I will also share in the chat. And what did we show off there? We showed off Soul Wars, which is great. This is an example of how it can happen. Soul Wars came from ideation. Talked about it back in, I think, February or March. Then again in July, and it's coming out soon. Elemental Workshop sequel came about. I think in July we also talked about Twisted Tales, and getting ahead. The first Twisted Tale was added last month. So if there's really positive reception, we can prioritize that kind of work. And there's the Soul Wars art. Thank you, Spear. It looks awesome. Yeah, like I said, Ed talked about the Elemental. I think Lenny, Ed, and Mac were talking about Elemental Workshop questline. There was a mini game called Nightfall, which is like a wave-based challenge where you fight off hordes of enemies while trying to survive as long as possible.
Cool.
I thought it was awesome, like COD Zombies, but for old school RuneScape. Mod Flippy had an idea for a player-owned restaurant. I pitched a sequel to Royal Trouble. Loads of great ideas, and we need to. What we should do in our ideation meetings? We should set time aside to represent the players' ideas too. We can go through them and present on behalf of players, that kind of thing. Right, we're coming to an end. I want to, if nobody minds, and Mod Spear, you don't mind, let's run about 10 minutes over or so. We've got one more question about the Gazette, and then some Steam questions, and then we can wrap up. Sound good?
Sure.
Sure, I like it. Okay, next question about the Gazette is, so I know in the past we've had biannual large updates, typically around January and July. Is the clan update going to be the big update for January, or are you restructuring how you're doing things? I'm loving the transparency.
So clans isn't January. Firstly, if Spear, is it too hard to ask you to bring up the roadmap image again?
I'm looking at the real one right now. It's not. It's being worked on throughout January.
Yeah, clans is being worked on and will be more like late first half of this year, April, May time, I think. Here comes the image. So yeah, clans will be really a May sort of launch. Big updates at the start of January are like Soul Wars. Soul Wars is coming early January after the Twitch Prime Gaming preview. So Soul Wars is the big one there, and there's obviously a whole host of content coming there. After clans, we can actually start getting working on Group Iron Man properly. So that will hopefully follow not too much later and be sort of one of the massive updates in the second half of this year. Of course, after the huge success of Trailblazer and it's still going, Leagues 3, we already said we'll be working on. We want to do a Deadman event in the second half next year. So there's actually quite a lot of big stuff planned in the second half of next year. Kingdom Divided itself is actually quite a big big addition as well in the quest and updates does there. So yeah, without going into too much detail, because there's stuff that we haven't announced and we don't want to talk about quite yet as well. Yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff to come in 2021, truly.
But I would say in the future we want to get into a kind of a habit, right? To your point.
Yeah.
Big seasonal game mode in the first half, big seasonal game mode in the second half, piece of quest content. Like, we want to have it so you can look forward to it, right? What do we have to look forward to next year? Oh man, I already know they're going to be doing this cool thing and that cool thing. So just try to look at this as just all of that content is one giant leap.
Yeah. I'd like to be more predictable, right? Like, as an understanding of when the next major updates, what sort of times how often do we normally release big things? How often do we sort of release these sorts of updates, etc.?
Sounds good to me. Some questions from the chat coming in. Why is the JAD challenge not being released with combat achievements? I think that's just a case of combat achievements we finished beforehand. So
yeah,
I guess to go first.
But I mean, this is something we've talked about as an organization as well, right? We have a tendency to go, and then as soon as it's done, just to toss it out. Maybe we hold on to that, right? Maybe we hold on to one to release it with the other. Like, that's just timing. But this is just kind of what you saw was the timing of when those things would be ready to go.
Players already speculating. In the first half of the year, there's quest 148 and 149. What does that mean for the second half of the year? What comes after that?
What?
You know,
only a fool would put something like that on the internet.
Everyone in the chat is trained in counting, right?
Okay, right. I've got some Steam questions. It's a big announcement earlier, so let's cover it. If anybody is unfamiliar, this wasn't this morning after all. In the end, was it? It was early afternoon. We announced that there would be a Steam beta. So let's go into the questions. ! Steam beta to learn more about it and to be able to sign up and participate and help us out. First question: what is the point of the test? What are you hoping to achieve?
I'm
the
hoping
whole client is now in C++ for the Steam client. As you know, the current client that you all use is Java. That is a huge job. That's been done over many months now. So obviously, naturally, with C moving to a native client, it runs a lot better. It runs at the same it can run up to the same frame rate as your refresh rate of your monitor, which is great. You know, you've been capped 50 FPS your entire life. Anyone with a 144 Hz monitor can get that true old school experience. But it's a huge job, right? This client to port it to C++, how many small issues are going to come up? Quite a lot. We've been fixing them for several months already. And we know how the game feels. Doesn't want to change. You've all played this game for 15 years, potentially, some of you. That small way that the camera feels when you move it, to how it feels to try and walk to the specific tile at the right timing when you're fighting something, has got to be on point. So we feel the beta can really ensure that we get that right. And to be honest, for anyone who's already been on it, truly, I think it's in a pretty amazing state as is. There's a number of issues being brought up so far, which is great, and they're going into our list to get solved. But yeah, it's a huge technical challenge to move it to C++, and that's what we're trying to solve. To really make sure that it still feels like the old school RuneScape experience.
Cool. Thanks for that, Kieran. The next question is, has the test started yet? So we announced earlier. I can reveal that we've sent the first batch of invitations. It was about 195, starting small to begin with, just getting a good feel. Is it going to crash? Is it going to work? We've got those testers in our Discord server. They're talking to us. They're giving feedback. I think they've already said that for some people's graphics card, if you wear certain items, your character turns invisible. That type of stuff. Feedback. There are some flickers, but it is stable. It is working. And like Kieran was talking about, the GPU and frame rate and stuff, FPS, looking pretty good. We'll invite more players as we need to. People asking, like, are streamers going to be allowed to stream the beta? If they're in, sure. But I'm not really sure why you'd stream it. It's not necessarily something fancy to show off. It is just the technical. Does it do a good enough job, technically? So sure, if they want to, but I don't see why they would. Okay, the next question we've got is, do you have other plans for the client? Since we've announced it, I've seen tons of people say that whilst it's good we're doing this for new players, they feel like new players would be better welcomed on Steam if we had other features, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact is, in a complete and total utter transparency, we had to have the C++ client to get onto Steam, right? Using some of the stuff that they were using, we needed to be there. But this is just the first step. We've got a long road to hoe. Rather. I think we have, that's the phrase, right? It's not a road to hoe, it's a road to hoe. I think I was hoeing a road. Anywho, yeah, we got plans, long-term goals, things.
Awesome. Okay. Question not on the sheet, but one I've seen in the chat, and we've answered quite a lot on social media and stuff since we've announced it, is what is this going to mean for third-party clients like RuneLite? So like you said, we're thinking about longer term plans. There are a few different paths or roads we could hoe, but that still remains a long way.
You can make me look this shit up.
A row. That's what you said. Anyway, our focus right now is on the beta. Any other long-term plans and how it's going to affect everybody else, that is still a way off. We need to see how this goes. We want to get this client working. This is not an attack on RuneLite or other clients. We understand lots of you use RuneLite. I use RuneLite. I think everyone on this call probably uses RuneLite. We really value the features it offers. We're being transparent this time around, saying, hey, we need this client to work. Can you help us? If our position changes, there'll be super transparency around that too. Okay, next question, Mike. I'm looking to you for this one. Or I could give you the answer from the press release earlier in the year. When will Steam be released?
Well, get into the beta for the client and help us get it ready to go. Because right now today, I found you can ask Vergard. I found a bug before I could even log into it. So we got plenty of time ahead of us, right? We want to make sure that we got this thing right. We did say that, I think in the press release, we did say we wanted to launch it in, first half of 2021, somewhere in there. But really, it's going to depend on the client. Is it acceptable? Is it, can it do things to help new players coming into the game? Because that's the ultimate reason to go to Steam, right? Is to get all these new eyeballs on the game, come in and try it out. So yeah, we're going to have to add things to it. We're going to have to make sure that it's the best possible experience we can give them with our C++ client. As yes, the RuneLite in comparison. So yeah.
Sounds good. I'm just shaking my head at the chat. So pedantic. I asked, when will Steam be released? Obviously, I'm asking, when will Old School be released on Steam? I know we're not re-releasing Steam, and Steam's already been released. Come on now.
Well, this is what I was saying about the road to hoe, right? I've been saying road to hoe for years. It's actually road to hoe, and I just looked it up, and it is. If you're going to be specific, it's a road to hoe. You can hoe a row, but not a road. But it is both acceptable in the linguistic community.
I mean, I keep saying as the eagle flies instead of as the crow flies. So,
well, that's just nuts. How's that? You're not. Why? Why the eagle?
I don't know.
The eagle has landed. It says the crow flies.
I'm pretty sure in Middle Earth stuff they say as the eagle flies.
Oh man,
but Kieran doesn't read fantasy or watch movies, so he wouldn't know that. So he's got it from somewhere else.
Oh my God! A, excellent nerd knowledge there. B, we've had this discussion, Kieran. I have to actually say it every time. I'm going to say something that's from a movie, and every time it's like, nah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but every time you quote a movie, it's from before I was born, mate. So
I can't help it. I'm obviously an old guy. Right?
This is some exclusive insight for the chat.
Aliens, like Lord of the Ring.
Kieran doesn't watch movies. Popular movie, will not have seen it. Right, a few more questions, then we'll end. Okay, so we announced that we're coming to the Steam store. Are you considering other stores like the Epic Store, or are you considering other platforms like the Switch?
We are considering, and this is, I've said it before, I'll say it again, every platform, every region, everywhere in the world. You could play this game on a smart refrigerator. We're going to be in everyone's smart refrigerator.
People preempted you. They were spamming smart fridge before you even said it. Nice.
Boom. No, seriously, man. That's what I'm saying. You'd be like, Alexa, boss this monster for me while I make these eggs. Like, we're going to do this.
No,
I want to know how many people's devices have just went off in their room.
Alexa,
like
buy more ramen noodles.
When you're going to the fridge, your smart fridge, to get your Jagex endorsed Diet Pepsi, you can play a bit of old school while you're reaching for the can. All right, no, 2 more questions. Why should players help us test this client when the reality is it's going to offer a worse playing experience than if they were to play RuneLite, like always?
Well, I mean, I guess if you're looking at it like that, right? Like, it's the truth, right? I could log into RuneLite right now, or I could log into our beta. I'm going to keep trying to help beta test the client because I know, eventually it could lead to great things. This getting on C++ gets us a safer, more, it gets us a better platform for mobile, right? Like we talked about that. We have to upgrade our mobile client. So this is a perfect way to do that, right? So it's for the betterment of the game. I can't make you. All I can do is ask you. If you would please help us out, that would be great. If not, keep playing RuneLite. Have a good time.
So I guess this is my approach to it. I am probably going to spend most of my time playing old school using RuneLite, but if I'm doing something that doesn't really require like all the gameplay helpers that I like and really want, then I'm going to spend maybe an hour or 2 a night using the beta client. And I think that's probably a good way to go. I mean, you can spend all your time on the beta if you really want to help us, or you can drop in, drop out, try some stuff, tell us how it works, and then go back to using RuneLite.
I don't know though, man. I find because I came out of customer service originally. I'm pretty sure everybody on this call did at some point come out of QA or customer service. I don't know what it is. It's almost like a mini game in itself to find bugs. Like I love to find bugs. Like, oh man, look at this bear. That's what I did Vergard before I even got to log in. I'm like, oh dude, check this out. He's just like, just send it to me. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, there's been quite a few that have been reported when we've just been playing it ourselves before it's got even this stage. Like, there was one where when you right-clicked the tile so that you could remember and you clicked to walk there, it wouldn't walk to the right tile, it would walk to the one you clicked on later where it was hovering over. So there's little things like that we've been finding that are they're super important because they affect the way that players actually interact with the game. So things like that is the sort of stuff really that we're finding quite often.
Cool. All right, I've got one more question on our sheet, and we're already over. Mort'ton has done an amazing job of collating lots and lots of questions from the chat. I must apologise, we won't have time to get to them, but we will begin the next stream with those very questions. So you can either catch us live or you can catch up on YouTube. This VOD will be posted usually the same evening or the next day with timestamps and whatnot, so you can be able to catch it there. Last question I've got is, during the beta or even on release, when we release on Steam, will you allow us to link multiple RuneScape accounts to a Steam account? Currently, you can only link one RuneScape account to a Steam account. If you want to change accounts, there is an awkward, not very long or lengthy process, but it's quite an awkward process where you have to unlink your RuneScape account and then log in with Steam again, linking another one. Any ideas?
No, I don't have any ideas. No, we won't.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Reasonable request though, right? We know lots of players like to play on multiple accounts, so we don't have an answer for you right now, but it's one we will endeavour to find out and give feedback accordingly. We want to make your playing as seamless as possible. That said, because Steam typically will be aimed at newer players, because you already played a game, there might be less of a need to link multiple accounts. But I get it will make testing and playing the beta a bit more palatable. Right. I will. If you're both happy to end there, and Mod Spear's happy to end there, I'll run through the announcements, and then we'll end the stream. But before I do that, any last words?
Thank you for listening, and I'm really looking forward to what 2021 brings. It's gonna be nuts, in a good way, not nuts in a train wreck way, which it was.
In the 2020 way, yeah.
Or the dumpster fire, as you described it.
Hey, dude, incontrovertible.
Yeah,
Right,
it's been a wild ride. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Cool. Right, I'll run through the announcements and then we will say goodbye. What do we got? Exclamation mark leagues in the chat to learn more about leagues. I'm sure you already know about leagues, but if you don't, type that, learn more, log in and play. Exclamation mark Gazette. So this is our very newest blog. It is the final Gazette of the year, and we start by apologizing for the lack of Gazette in October and November. We are very sorry. But this Gazette is very long, has really lots of cool stuff, so I hope that makes amends somewhat. We give you a peek at the roadmap all the way to quarter 1 of 2021, so until the end of April. Lots of content there. We give you an update on all the very active projects and hot topics like the 2 million logins issue, PvP account security. There are some teasers from upcoming content as well. We showed that off earlier in the stream, so if you've just joined us, you might want to go back and watch the beginning of the stream or read the blog. There are 5 new-ish JMods, and you can read all about that by using exclamation mark Gazette, 1Z, 2 Ts. Okay, what next? Exclamation mark FSB for the Fishing Skill Boss. That's what it stands for. We first blogged it in, I want to say August. Reception was pretty mixed. A lot of players felt like it was too similar to Wintertide. We went back to the drawing board. We made some feedback changes, but mostly it was just about how we presented it. In our minds, it wasn't going to be similar to Wintertide. We just needed to frame it a better way. Spend a bit more time prototyping and show you how it's different, show you the combat, talk about the fight sequences, go into a bit more detail about the rewards, and we've done that. So exclamation mark FSB to read that blog. Exclamation mark OST. You can jam to the sounds of the Kebos Lowlands by checking out the Jagex Spotify. Exclamation mark OST for that link.
Oh,
see, this is what I'm talking about. Oh, I like that, Mike. That's how we should intro every stream. We need to capture that soundbite.
Oh, Jesus.
All right.
Jam
Exclamation
to the
mark.
sounds of the Kebos Lowlands coming straight at you.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, the last announcement we've got is exclamation mark Steam Beta. We need your help to prepare for Old School Steam launch. We just spoke about it in quite a lot of depth, so you probably know all about it. But exclamation mark Steam Beta, you'll see in the news post, you'll see the FAQ, and you can learn how to sign up. We've got about 200 players in the beta so far. Once we're quite comfortable with the stability of the client, we'll send more invites accordingly. That's it from me. Yeah, okay, cool. Shall we wrap it up there?
Absolutely.
I've just realized before we do, that voice you just did sounds so similar to Fever 105 from GTA Vice City radio station.
Dude, I'll tell you what, the funny thing was, it was like listening to my parents listen to like stations over here in the US. But there was this one station and that's where the whole idea comes from. There was somebody that's like, but it was like, I'm trying to think, it was like, you're listening to 99.9 The Quiet Storm. Like, it was just this whole like smooth jazz kind of thing that they listen to, and it was just like, I don't know, it's just kind of stuck in my mind. So
all right, that's like the fourth or fifth attempt at an outro. Let's end it there. Thank you, Mike, for joining me. I've really enjoyed this. I missed this. Let's do more of these. Mod Spear behind the scenes, thank you so much. Mod Sani and Mod Aiza in the chat, and all the other Jagex mods for watching. Thank you very much for helping, and all the players watching. Thank you so much for reading the really long blogs we're putting out and for watching this stream where we're talking about nonsense like Diet Pepsi and Fever 105. And in between, there's some talk about big topics, but otherwise, I like these streams because we just get to chat about, nonsense.
Well, Thank you. Yes, thank you. Without you, this would be for naught.
All right, let's play us out. Thanks, everyone.